Last Wednesday, a heartbreaking report reached us here in the Senate of yet another OFW coming home lifeless, thanks to the privileged speech of Senator Pia Cayetano regarding the discrimination faced by our OFWs in wearing full gear PPEs, and Senator Risa Ontiveros' compassion for the abuse committed against our women OFWs. Our attention was called to the case of Jovelyn Tang Andres, a case that I believe is not isolated, but is being experienced by other OFWs. Masakit po sa loob ko na nangyari ulit ito. Bagamat hindi pa ako senador nung nagsimulang problema ni Jovelyn, sana po ay natulungan ko siya agad. Lumapit po siya sa akin noon. Sa inakala niya, ang kausap niya po ay ang aking tanggapan. Pero napag-alaman ko na lumapit po pala siya sa isang kamiyembro ng aking pamilya at pinapunta po siya sa action center na yon. Unfortunately, hindi po siya nakapunta dahil po siguro sa kakulangan sa pera. Nang malaman ko ang kwento ni Jovelyn, pagkatapos po sa plenaryo, hindi na po ako nag-aksaya ng panahon at agad kong sinimulan ang pag-iimbestiga. Una ko pong tinawagan ang kamag-anak ni Jovelyn sa Jensan. Kinabukasan, sa Scheduled Technical Working Group ng Committee on Migrant Workers, pinagpatuloy ko po ang pag-imbestiga sa kaso ni Jovelyn. Nang araw ding yon, lumipad patungong Jensan ang isang crew ng RTIA, Raffy, Tulfo in Action, para makausap ang pamilya ni Jovelyn at personal na magpaabot ng tulong para sa mga naiwan ni Jovelyn at para makapag-imbestiga na rin. Dito, trinabaho ng RTIA crew ang pagpapa-autopsy sa labi ni Jovelyn. Meanwhile, back here in Manila, because we have a weekly TWG with DMW and OWA, I was able to get information from them regarding the matter and ask for their help to address the concerns of Jovelyn's family and to investigate who are liable for what happened. And because of the trust of our OFWs have on us, some OFWs who were companions of Jovelyn in Saudi came out and told us what they know about what really happened to Jovelyn. Ngayon, base po sa mga nakalap namin mga impormasyon mula sa OWA, DMW, pamilya ni Jovelyn at makasama niyang OFW, ito po ang totoong kwento. Jovelyn Tang Andres is a 33-year-old resident of Sarangani and a member of the Blaan Indigenous Peoples Group and a mother of 3. She was recruited as a domestic helper by a certain Emma Fernandez, who directly recruits for Manabi Aleklas Recruitment Agency, the Saudi Arabia Recruitment Agency. Emma coursed the papers of Jovelyn to a local recruitment agency, which is Gulf Synergy Employment, who processed her documentation, including her medical exam, sometime in September 2021. This means she submitted her requirements and had a fit-to-work certificate months before she was deployed. On November 27, 2021, she was deployed to Sakaka, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. At this point, when she got to Saudi, we gathered various versions of what happened to Jovelyn. Version 1, pagdating ni Jovelyn sa Saudi, nalaman ng employer niya na buntis siya, kaya pinabalik siya sa Manabi Agency at doon siya ay pilit na pinainom ng pangpalaglag na naging dahilan ng kanyang pagkamatay. Version 2, ang nakarating sa asawa ni Jovelyn at OWA. Sa side naman ng OWA at ng pamilya ni Jovelyn, ang unang kwento na nakarating sa kanila ay hindi kinain ni Jovelyn ang trabaho sa bahay ng amo niya, kaya ito ay nagpa-pull out at nagpabalik sa agency. Pagdating sa accommodation, nakaramdam daw ng sakit sa likod at tiyan si Jovelyn. Nagsabi siya sa kanyang asawa na gusto niyang umuwi. Pero bandang Marso, nalaman na lang nila na namatay na si Jovelyn. Ayon sa OWA, ang report sa kanila ng Manabi ay nagpakamatay daw si Jovelyn. Version number 3. Sa aming mga pag-imbestiga, may mga nakausap kami mga kasabay ni Jovelyn papuntang Saudi at mga OFW na kasama niya sa accommodation ng Manabi. Ayon sa pakikipag-usap ko sa kanila sa video conference, bago daw lumipad papuntang Saudi, ay hindi daw nakapag-pregnancy test si Jovelyn. Pagdating sa Saudi, hindi din agad in-apply ng residence permit o ikama si Jovelyn ng kanyang amo. Nadili po ito ng mga 1 buwan. Doon mag-apply na ng ikama si Jovelyn at pinag-medical exam siya, na-discovery ng amo na siya ay buntis. Kaya pinabalik siya ng amo sa Manabe Agency. Pagdating sa accommodation ng Manabe, nagpahiwatig si Jovelyn na gusto niyang umuwi para manganak na lang sa Pilipinas. Pero di siya pinayagan dahil may 2 pang taong kontrata siya. Malulugi daw ang agency. Napansin ng mga kasama ni Jovelyn na special treatment si Jovelyn pagdating sa accommodation. Doon siya natutulog sa kwarto ng sekretary ng Manabe. At iba daw ang pinapakain sa kanya at pinapainom. Napag-alaman nila mula din doon sa Pinay na napag-utusan ng Manabe na pinalalagyan ng pampalaglag ang pagkain at inumin ni Jovelyn. Kinalaunan, nag-bleeding na nga si Jovelyn. Naikwento ito ng kasama ni Jovelyn na nag-aalaga sa kanya nang siya ay nag-bleeding. Gusto na raw talagang umuwi ni Jovelyn ayon sa asawa niya. Pero di niya masabi ang tungkol sa pagbubuntis niya at ang pagkalaglag ng bata at ang mga pang-aabuso ng Manabe dahil ang mga tawag nila ay monitored ng Secretary ng Manabe at may CCTV pa. Si Jovelyn ay minsan nang pinagpa-part-time sa bahay ng may-ari ng Manabe. Doon, nagtangka raw siyang magpakamatay pero nahuli ng nanay ni Basam, may-ari ng agency, at siya'y sinampal sa Galit. On March 25, 2022, Jovelyn was found dead inside the bathroom of Manabe's accommodation. The local police, the forensic expert, and the public prosecutor immediately inspected the site and found Jovelyn hanging with a cloth to the base of the heater inside the bathroom with no signs of injuries or any indication of violence or resistance. They ruled that the cause of death is suicide. Her remains arrived in the Philippines only on September 17, 2022. What has been done for Jovelyn and her family? We immediately acted on the request of the family for autopsy. By September 23, Friday, the autopsy was conducted. According to the autopsy report, the cause of death was asphyxia by ligature. And with the report of the police of Saudi that she was found hanging inside the CR with no signs of injury or any indication of violence or resistance, it seems that suicide is the cause of death. I have also consulted with a psychologist regarding the situation of Jovelyn. And based on the story I gave her, it is highly probable she committed suicide according to Dr. Camille Garcia, a renowned psychologist. Everything that happened to her contributed to her depression. Of course, knowing how Jovelyn died is not enough. We have to stand our ground for our Filipino OFWs when their rights are violated abroad. Jovelyn suffered abortion without her consent. If that happened here in the Philippines, Manabe would have been liable for intentional abortion without the consent of the woman. In Saudi Arabia, induced abortion is generally illegal. A person who performs an illegal abortion is subject to the payment of blood money to the relatives of the aborted fetus. At the embryo stage, an abortion is not allowed unless an approved medical committee decides the continuation of the pregnancy endangers the women's safety and could possibly lead to their death. In Jovelyn's case, there was no such danger. We are now coordinating with the DMW's Migrant Workers Office for the filing of this case against Manabe and its owner. And while the filing of the case may take some time, we also made sure that the family's needs are addressed. Number one, OWA has already provided the death and burial benefits, livelihood assistance, and scholarship from elementary to college for one child. Mayor Sumbo of Malapatan also promised scholarship for the other children of Jovelyn. And of course, to sustain them as a family, I offered Jovelyn's family develop a livelihood as a source of income to replace what Jovelyn would have provided for her family had she been alive. And I also promised the family a house and lot. And let me make this clear, pera ko po yun wala pong pera mula sa gobyerno ang lahat ng ibinigay kong tulong kay Jovelyn, house and lot at pangkabuhayan sa kanyang pamilya. For the second time, pera ko po yun, sarili kong pera, walang pera na nanggaling po sa gobyerno. Issues are concerned discovered. Why do I get out of my way to do all this myself? I know, trabaho naman ng iba ito. But it is only when you personally handle things and you get your hands dirty that you find out what's wrong. In the last 4 days that we have been working on this case, we discovered several problems that must be addressed. First, a lot of female OFWs reach their work pregnant, while there is a pregnancy test conducted during the pre-employment medical examination. Such is not enough because that is done months before the actual deployment. Sexual contact could have happened before deployment. Some agencies in practice conduct pregnancy tests before their flight, but that is not a mandatory policy. We also discovered that Manabe had a former Filipina secretary who came back here in the Philippines to recruit for them. The Filipina directly recruits in the province and then refers them to a licensed recruitment agency. We have to investigate the regulation for these illegal recruiters hiding behind or using licensed recruitment agencies. Gulf Synergy was also remiss in monitoring their deployed workers and the submission reports to DMW. How come they were not informed of the pregnancy of Jovelyn and her request to be repatriated? How come their mobile phones are being controlled by the foreign agency? The work of the recruitment agency should not end at the point of deployment. Just to inform the body, a recruitment violation case was already filed against Gulf Synergy. Its license is now suspended. With regards to Manabe, the only real and immediate action that we can do is to have their accreditation canceled and have them permanently delisted. At the moment, an administrative case for disciplinary action against employer was filed against Manabe, and a full investigation is also being conducted to determine their liability for failing to monitor, report, and to timely repatriate Jovelyn. Another problem that we discover is the inability for OFWs to communicate with their family and with the Philippine government. Their phones are confiscated, and if allowed to call at all, they are being monitored. How can we protect them if we don't even know that they are in trouble? We have to come up with a solution so that they will not be cut off from any source of help. And finally, the foreign agencies block the repatriation of our OFWs. Manabe detains the OFWs and tell them that they have to do part-time work to pay for their ticket going home. We have a law in place with regard to repatriation. Our OFWs should have the option to terminate their employment. Now, if the repatriation is due to their own fault, of course, they have to answer for the cost. But if they should always have the option to return home. Before I end my speech, let me emphasize the policy laid down in our Constitution. The protection of life, liberty, and property are essential for the enjoyment by all the people of the blessings of democracy. Jovelyn came home lifeless. She was deprived of her liberty in Saudi, and she was made to work without getting paid. If we do not do anything about this, our OFWs will spit on our Constitution. I will be passing bills to address these concerns. I implore upon my dear colleagues to help me prioritize these bills and put an end to OFWs coming home lifeless. Thank you for listening, Mr. President and my dear colleagues.